In this video, we will discuss how to perform lung volumes and airways resistance testing with Ascent Cardiorespiratory software. In 2023, a joint committee of the ERS and ATS released new technical standards for the measurement of lung volumes. They also released a supplemental document that included the measurement of airways resistance. It is important to note that within these documents, the committee recommends that the performance of lung volume efforts and airway resistance efforts be independent and separate from each other to ensure accuracy. They state that the optimal panting frequencies are different, and increased time on the mouthpiece increases opportunity for leaks and can compromise accurate measurement of lung volumes. In addition, when measurement of lung volumes and airway resistance are combined, some patients may not tolerate the extended time on the mouthpiece and with the door closed. This video presumes that the system is sufficiently warmed up, calibrated, and patient information has already been entered. After entering patient information, select the Begin Testing button. You will be taken to the FVC test screen. The plethysmography test screen can be accessed from any test. To select the pleth test, click on the pleth test icon within the test queue section of the screen. While on the pleth test screen, press the F5 key on your keyboard to display the pleth settings screen. Following the ATS guidelines, the Perform SVC maneuver option should be checked. Settings also allows you to dictate the acceptable panting frequency for the closed shutter or FRC maneuver. The ATS guidelines say the closed shutter frequency should be between 0.5 and 1 pant per second or 30 to 60 pants per minute. However, they say up to 90 pants per minute is acceptable. The default frequency for closed shutter is set to 30 and 90, with the metronome set to 60. If you wish to make changes to the settings, first unlock the settings by clicking on the lock icon. Make your changes, then click the Save button in the lower right. Before beginning an effort, make sure you thoroughly explain the procedure to the patient. The patient should sit up straight, place their lips around the mouthpiece, put on the nose clip, place their hands on their cheeks, then close and seal the plethysmograph door. If your patient is cooperative, they can place their lips on the mouthpiece after the door has been closed. When the door closes, the intercom between the technician and patient becomes active. Make sure the patient can hear you by adjusting the volume within the cabin by using the volume adjust knobs on the left side of the body box. Once the door has been sealed, it generally takes about 30 seconds for the interior of the cabin to equalize pressure and temperature. At the start, the cabin is room temperature. As the patient breathes with the door closed, the temperature within the cabin will increase. After approximately 30 seconds, you can begin the test. Optionally, you can verify that the box has stabilized by selecting the box vent button at the top of the screen. The vent on the box will close. Monitor the stability section of the quality control gauge. If the pressure keeps increasing, you will need to wait. Select the box vent button once again to open the box vent. After another 20 seconds, you can close the box vent again and monitor the pressure. If the box pressure stays relatively stable and the quality control gauge is green, the box has stabilized and testing can begin. Select the FRC button to begin a lung volume effort. Have the patient keep their lips tight and begin relaxed tidal breathing. After at least 3 stable tidal breaths, a red horizontal dotted line will appear on the volume time graph. While the patient is exhaling on the next breath, you can select the next button in the upper left or press the spacebar. When the software detects the end of exhalation, it will automatically close the shutter within the head of the breathing circuit. Once you hear the shutter close, immediately have the patient begin to gently pant at 30 to 60 pants per minute. The metronome on the side of the quality control gauge will visually aid in the proper panting speed for the patient. After 3 seconds of panting, the shutter will automatically reopen. When the shutter reopens, have the patient perform an SVC maneuver by taking in a full deep breath, then exhaling to residual volume. If it is easier for the patient, the SVC can be performed by first blowing out to RV, then taking a deep breath in. After the SVC maneuver, select the stop button at the top of the screen to end the effort and display the test results. Depending on your patient, you can select the FRC button and perform another maneuver right away. Some patients may require a few seconds after the effort to recover. Now let's take a look at that same effort in real time. The ATS guidelines say that the goal is to obtain at least 3 acceptable FRC pleth values that agree within 5%. When this happens, the patient can move on to the next test. Results with repeatability exceeding 5% may still be of use. The maximum number of efforts to perform to get acceptability and repeatability will depend on the patient's condition. Patient fatigue may limit the number of maneuvers. After the appropriate efforts have been obtained, you can review the data and graphs, and then select the efforts you want to average for the final report. By default, the software automatically selects all acceptable FRC efforts by placing a checkmark in the FRC select column. To manually select or deselect efforts, click in the FRC select column to add or remove the check marks. The average of the FRCs selected will appear in the best row. Select all of the appropriate SVC efforts by placing a check mark in the SVC select column. The software will use the largest SVC, but average the ICs and ERVs from those efforts. By default, the average FRC plus the average IC will be used to calculate the TLC. Colored balls in the ATS column indicates that something with that effort did not meet ATS guidelines. Hovering your cursor over a ball will display a message. Different colors will display different messages. The pleth grade column will indicate the grade of the selected efforts according to the ATS guidelines. Acceptable and repeatable efforts will have a green outline around their values. The software also has a feature called the ATS scorecard. Clicking on the scorecard icon in the upper right will display information about every effort and whether or not that effort met the ATS guidelines. Be sure to go to the MGC YouTube channel to learn how to adjust the tangents of the pressure graphs if needed. The same basic principles that applied to FRC testing is also true for airway resistance efforts. The box door must be closed and sealed, pressure inside the cabin must stabilize, and the patient uses nose clips and places their hands on their cheeks. Press the F5 key on the keyboard to verify the panting frequencies for open shutter breathing. Unlike FRC testing, airway resistance efforts have a section of open shutter panting as well as closed shutter panting. It is important to note that the panting frequencies for open and closed shutter maneuvers are different. The ATS guidelines state that the open shutter frequency of 1.5 to 2 pants per second is acceptable. To begin an airway resistance effort, select the raw button at the top of the screen and perform stable tidal breathing. After at least 3 stable tidal breaths, select the next button and have the patient perform open shutter panting at the end of a tidal breath. Open shutter panting will be slightly deeper and faster than closed shutter panting. Once you have obtained at least 4 acceptable pants, select the next button or spacebar to close the shutter. Once the shutter closes, perform 3 seconds of closed shutter panting. The shutter will reopen after 3 seconds. Select the stop button or spacebar to end the effort. Once an effort is complete, you can continue directly into the next effort if the patient is able. Continue to perform at least 3 acceptable airway resistance maneuvers. Even though the effort will have closed shutter panting to measure lung volumes, the lung volumes are used to calculate specific resistance and specific conductance. ATS recommends to not use the lung volumes from airway resistance testing for FRC and TLC measurements. The computer will automatically select the acceptable efforts. All airway resistance maneuvers that are selected are averaged in the best row and used for the final report. It is important to note that by default, the software will enforce the ATS acceptability and grading for FRC. This means that the user will not be able to select an FRC from an airway resistance effort. To change this setting, you must be an administrator of the Ascent software. Be sure to go to the MGC YouTube channel to learn how to adjust the tangents of the pressure graphs if needed. Thank you for watching this video. For technical questions on plethysmography testing, contact technical support at 1-800-333-4137 or email us at support@mgcdiagnostics.com.